Three friends, one amazing series of YA novels, an insatiable thirst to relive the glory that is K.A. Applegate's literary masterpiece. This is Animorphs, the Dork-Bajir Chronicles.
Hello and welcome to the Dork-Bajir Chronicles, a podcast where we read through the Animorphs series one book at a time and then talk about it every week. Today we'll be talking about book 26, The Attack. My name is Mikhail, the host.
I'm Tessa, the expert.
And I'm Braden, the baby who loves murder.
And today we're joined by a very special guest, Andrew, a patron from our Patreon page.
Hello, it is I.
Hi, Andrew.
How are you guys doing?
Pretty good.
I'm pretty all right. I'm wearing, you guys can't see it, but I'm wearing a little bit of face paint right now to make it look like my eyes got burned out in a gas attack because I'm doing a production of Unity 1918 in my hometown.
Whereas I'm just wearing a t-shirt that says, like, Elemis Rule, Crayak's Drool, and that's just for me.
I'm just wearing a jockstrap only.
Oh, it's because of the surgery, right? That's what you have to wear for surgery.
So here's a fun fact. This is like a double special episode because, one, we have Andrew, who's followed us for a long time and has been very generously donating on our Patreon page. The other reason it's special is because I had eye surgery, like those of you who have been following our Twitter and stuff, a while ago now, and it still hasn't healed. So I haven't read this book.
I think the problem is they haven't put the eyeballs back in.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
They don't tell you that. They just pop them out and then just leave them there.
I think they forgot to put the other cleaning them.
So Tessa is going to be, well, not really taking over because Andrew's going to be doing our summary this week. But Tessa did all the notes and the fan mail and stuff. So shout out to Tessa for doing some work.
Oh, yeah. Finally pulling my weight around here and not just holding the weight of all these 60 books in my head at all times.
I mean, sure. Anyways, before we get started, Andrew, why don't you tell us how you got into Animorphs in the first place?
I was, like 10 or something like that? And I was at a Scholastic Book Fair, and I saw the cover for this one with Jake turning into a tiger, and I thought that seemed pretty cool. And then I read it, and I was very confused until I realized this was book number 26 in a series.
Yeah, actually, I think at least I definitely got into Animorphs as well from the Scholastic Book Fair. Didn't you, Tessa? I can't remember.
No, I did not. I don't remember the first Animorphs book I read, but I never actually participated in a Scholastic Book Fair because I didn't go to public school. I didn't have book fairs. I just read them all from the library, and I owned a couple of them. Not this one, though, but I do remember very vividly when I rented it from the library to reread it when I was like 13.
So you never had the joy of flipping through, Andrew, back me up on this, but that little flyer they give you?
The flyer? No, unfortunately not.
Oh, I love that flyer.
That flyer was dope.
I know.
That's where I first, every once in a while there was just a manga, right in the bottom corner. There was some manga like Bleach or Shaman King.
Oh yeah.
And then it would never be, they would never have number 2 or 3 or 4 or whatever. And that's how you knew, you see some nipple.
Wait, so Andrew, I heard you correlate with that. Are you also an anime person? I don't know. What do you guys?
Anime person? I am a fan of anime. Some of them. There's not a lot. I don't watch a lot of them, but there's a few.
We're all fans of anime. In a world post Ghibli, we're all fans of anime. Just some people don't admit it.
I don't think that's really fair though, because it's I really like Nightmare Before Christmas. I'm not going to watch every stop motion thing out there because some of it's really garbage.
Okay, that's fair.
Anyways.
Let's talk about some fan mail. Fan mail! Ooh, yeah. Fan mail! Ooh, yeah. All right, we got, so fourth host, I was going to call him, our fourth host, Darby, has been killing it on Twitter lately.
Yeah.
Just like...
Man, I love Darby. I hope I never see him ever again in my life, but I love that guy.
He posted some things. What was this one? He posted a bit about, so a couple episodes ago with, I guess maybe 2 episodes ago, when we talked about Live from the Gardens about the anteaters. Darby said, trying to decide the hypothetical question of the week. No, it was 2 weeks, because last week we talked about the polar bears from the extreme.
Oh yeah, it was 3 weeks ago.
So yeah, it's a couple weeks ago. But we're talking about anteaters, and you can pick to have the tongue or the claws. And Darby, in usual Darby fashion, says, "I think I picked the grinding stomach of the anteater." Mikhail said that wasn't an option, but I like to make every hypothetical question my own.
Well, I had to edit that out because Mikhail was very angry, like just potent anger. He just lost his damn mind on poor little Darby.
But okay, so fan mail. We had a vote. Again, our second vote on Twitter.
Yes.
Which is better, Dork-Bajir or Andalite? Last Twitter poll about this, Dork-Bajir won handily. And on this time, the fans, they kind of disappointed me because they overwhelmingly voted for Andalite.
Yes. Thank you for showing up for the truth.
So we'll probably have to do this a couple more times because the results are inconclusive.
Well, okay.
It's 1v1
Trump over here. If I win, it's fine. If I lose, recount.
I mean, now they're tied, Mikhail. Right? We could have just done it one and done, but you wanted to do it again. So now we're tied. So at the very least, we have to do best out of 3, right?
I don't think that's how that works. Anyway.
All right. If you're fine with sharing victory to the ultimate victors, the Dork-Bajir, then
well, whatever.
Fine.
Out of all of solidarity, I changed our avatars to the
Dork-Bajir. The Dork-Bajir, Dork-Bajir, yeah.
Yeah. So whatever. Take it easy.
So we're good.
Anyways. That's it for fan mail. Andrew, do you want to hit us with the summary? I mean, you will be graded.
Here we go. So they don't really open up with a goof at all, really. It's more of a prologue nightmare scenario.
It's true.
It is a nightmare. It is a recurring nightmare that Jake's been having since he was infested with a Yeerk in book, what was it, 5?
6.
6. And he has the same vision, and he sees this giant machine-like creature with no arms or legs, but a giant red eye. And I've always got like a Sauron vibe from it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah, for sure.
I theorized when we first ran into it, like they sort of skimmed over it so quick. I imagined that this is like what K.A. Applegate imagined hell was, and they were punishing Jake for having lustful thoughts.
I mean, they were pretty lustful. Mm-hmm. So.
Right. Anyway, so after the dream, he wakes up. He's doing stuff at school, and they're having like a school assembly where they watch The Lion King until time freezes. And of course, when stuff like that happens, there's some Ellimist fuckery about to go down.
Oh yeah.
Yep.
That or the drugs kicked in.
Right. Marco's doing some dumb thing where he's like wiggling his ears to the music right before time freezes, and I loved it. I kind of loved that little silly bit there. Rachel breaks some dude's fingers. That's always fun. Anyway, so the Element shows up, and he's like, so here's the thing. You know that giant red eyeball you've been seeing in your dreams, Jake? It's this dude that's basically the anti-Elemist. He wants to destroy life and whatnot and rule the universe through, like, fear. Oh, there's also a little thing, like such a quick blurb that I didn't notice before, where he talks about how Crayak is refugee from another galaxy where there's someone more powerful than him and more powerful than the Elements, and I was like, wait, what?
Yep.
That requires more explaining.
It's the 5. The boys are back in town, y'all.
It's just 5 dudes hanging out in like a space sports car, just bug
Crayak could not stand the music, so he
had actually
left.
taken over the entire galaxy he was from, but then just like these boys just cruised around in this space sports car, just, hey old man, what do you think of this? And like mooned him. And Crayak was like, this neighborhood is going downhill. And he ran, just
moved
headed
out.
Andrew, why does the Ellimist tell them about Crayak?
So he tells them a little bit about their history, where they used to have open war, but it was too destructive. The universe was getting destroyed, or the galaxy was getting destroyed. So they decided to play their little chess version, where they they do the thing where he puts a butterfly, and then over here flutters its wings, and then the hurricane is on the other side of the world type of deal, right?
Proxy states.
Yeah.
Wait, what? Proxy states?
Yeah. They use proxies. They don't fight directly. They use less powerful. They utilize allies and servants and stuff like that to fight each other.
Right.
I get it.
To
fight each other's interests.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So he says that they're on the verge of open war again because they can't. Neither one of them can decide about this one race. The Ellimist wants that race to survive, and the Crayak wants to destroy it, but they're both in an impasse. So we decide to have a contest of champions. Crayak 7 champions versus the Ellimist 7 champions.
Oh boy, I've seen Game of Thrones. This always goes well.
Oh, it's gonna be so good. It's trial by combat for the lives of an entire planet.
Isn't there one part where sorry, this is total sidebar, but doesn't it's Cersei versus Prince Oberyn, and then she's like, I name the mountain as my stand-in, and it's oh, okay, so you can basically just pick the strongest guy. I thought that was
You can just pick. I'm gonna pick the mountain's older brother, but not the dog.
Oberyn wasn't the one who was on trial. Tyrion was on trial, but Tyrion's a dwarf who had already been fucked up in a previous battle. So Oberyn was his champ. Trials by combat have only been fought by champions in the Game of Thrones world.
Okay, that makes no.
That's actually true. No one has fought their own trial by combat.
Yeah.
But it's because it's always Tyrion that's using it, though. He's well, I ain't gonna fight nobody.
Sorry, that was a complete sidebar, but
yeah.
No, it's awesome. It's freaking great. The pawns within pawns. Again, it goes back to proxy states and allyship and who is in whose corner, and with Crayak and the Ellimist.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's my next essay. The parallels between Game of Thrones and Animorphs.
Oh, that's nice. Awesome. Okay, where was I? Okay, so 7 versus 7, and so Jake asked the all-important question, who are we supposed to be fighting against? And the Ellimist says the Howlers, which Jake recognizes, but apparently some of them, the other ones don't. We'll talk about that later. Anyway, so the Ellimist decides, or tells them, it's all up to you, whatever you guys want to do, and then he bounces. And they leave school and they go meet up in Cassie's barn, and they're trying to figure out whether or not they want to do it. And they're like, well, he wouldn't pick us if we didn't have a chance of winning. Right, and usually whenever he fucks with our lives, we usually get at least some type of benefit, directly or indirectly. Helps us out, kinda. So, in the end, they decide to do it, and Eric magically appears there because he's the one that wants to go with them because the Howlers are the ones that destroyed the Pemalites.
Mm-hmm. From 16 books ago.
Yeah.
So it's kind of understandable. A lot has happened since then.
Right.
The kids all found out about Marco's mom. Tobias can turn into a human again. It's a bunch of stuff.
The David thing.
The whole David thing. Axe is Tobias's uncle. Oh my god.
Which we have not addressed at all in the books. Anyways.
Right. So they decide to go. And Elmas does the thing where he always transports them mid-sentence, so it cuts off and then the chapter ends. It's great. I love that. And they are transported to this planet, which, from the inside cover and from the way it's described, as Legoland, except giant, which sounds pretty cool, but also really
love the inner cover picture of this one. It's really beautiful, really amazing.
Absolutely. It looks really, really cool. And I'm glad they have that for the picture of the Howler, too, because the way they described it in the books, I could not get a good picture of it in my head.
Pretty typical.
It's really, it's really difficult for the aliens that they describe for me to ever get a really good picture in my head. I kind of just go off based on what I see on the cover because I'm a simple person.
Right.
But yeah, I was trying really hard to think of something different when I reread it this time. And it's what are you describing, Catherine?
I had more problems with the escort too, which is the.
Oh yeah, I have no idea.
Here. Like,
I just Google fan art. I don't even try anymore.
But it's funny, right? Because like the whole thing with the Andalite truth thing, where it's like the covers don't necessarily. I mean, I don't know how much I agree with that. The idea that they were Andalites were initially described not as being centaurs, but as being these like weird,
like horses with arms, basically. Yeah.
yeah. Although, and then the cover art does not show that at all. It shows a much more like movie version.
I mean, you can still hug and kiss a horse, I guess.
I feel like after the first Axe book, when we got a real picture of an Andalite, they started writing it differently.
Yeah.
They started saying like, no, it does look like the cover, which I would prefer because the horse with arms is horrifying.
Yeah.
But apparently there's some people who are really, really pro the original description of Andalites to the point of fervor online. I don't want to draw a target on it.
I mean, target already drawn.
Now I'm just imagining all of my favorite scenes with like Axe and Visor 3, but like with them being like tiny like big necked, tiny armed. Lord in heaven, yeah.
Oh, good God.
Anyways, go on.
okay, yeah. Anyway, so they're immediately like accosted by the alien species they're there to save, the escort. And they look really weird. I'm not even going to try to describe that, except that they have an accordion for like a abdomen, and then they have like a tentacle finger, but also two other fingers.
Yeah, that are
claw-like, yeah, which is super. It doesn't even make sense. How do you even use that?
Is it as dumb as the Marcorans from Megamorphs 2? The crab people with two hands on one side?
It's not as
also,
bad as that, I think.
Okay, good.
It's important to note they have 3 elbows.
Oh, yeah, that's right, yeah. And their legs bend backwards, which I guess isn't that uncommon, but it seems really not very useful.
Yeah, I don't get how that would help at all.
So yeah, and these guys are like obsessed with selling stuff. They're constantly like trying to buy body parts or hair or memories.
Hair?
Yes.
All right.
Yeah, the Rachel gets a cut. Her hair gets cut down to just below her ears, and it makes me think of like season 8 of Friends, where Rachel just gets a bob all of a sudden and looks real good.
Eric is like, and I was Victoria the Great's hairstylist, and it's like, get out
Catherine
of here.
Catherine the Great's, come on.
I don't care.
Yeah, he's like,
monarchy is trash.
Oh, fucking hot takes! Look out, Brian. You're gonna get sad.
Well,
yeah. So Rachel sells 6 inches of her hair for them to get like a guide around the city because they're trying to figure out what the fuck is going on because they have no idea. It's great. And they get a guide, and his name is Guide.
It's great. He's got a brother whose name is like Merchant.
Yeah.
Of like merchant of stuff, and it's
all right, so they're walking around. They hit this mall, like you said, and get attacked by some of these Warmaker escort, and Jake is very confused and thinks they're howlers. He thinks everything's like, he's always like, is this a howler? Is this a howler? What's a howler?
Howlers. He's just ready to punch. He like punches an escort in the face.
He like just cranks back and gives him a nice one right on the jaw. And he's like, this is too easy. These can't be. And then he finally asks the one person who actually knows anything about like howlers if these guys they're fighting are howlers. And he's like, no, of course not. What? So yeah, so whatever. They deal with that, and they take off.
Wait, I haven't read it. Does he actually punch people out?
No, he punches it. He describes it as like, I've done something I've never done before in a battle. I punched this fucking escort in its stupid fucking face because I thought it was a howler.
Are you a howler or anything?
No, he's just started screaming here's what happened, Mikhail. The escort kind of bumped into him and they fell over, and Jake just started screaming, howlers! He punches him into the face. Rachel morphs bear. Axe slices off one of their arms, and then they're like, wait, I thought this battle was supposed to be hard. And then he asks Eric, are these howlers? And Eric's like, no.
Wait, so Eric didn't say anything until
No, exactly. I'm so confused. wonder how Jake didn't just ask him, like, yo, so what do howlers look like? So I don't just, like, go around assuming everyone that bumps into me is a howler.
Well, Mikhail, a single round of combat is only 6 seconds.
It's true. A lot happened really fast.
D&D is not allowed anymore on this podcast.
Wrong.
Man.
Wrong. Nope.
Sorry, go on, Andrew.
Okay, yeah, so, where was I? So they deal with these War Maker escort, who are really just bullies and not very tough, but they like to act tough. And they decide that they need to find, like, a place to stay so they can, like, kind of gather their senses and, you know, whatever, try and get a hold of whatever's going on before they have to actually fight a howler. And they're walking down these very wide staircase, which doesn't have... They don't have, like, hand railings, and there's no walls, so, like, they're in this open-air tower, walking down these stairs, and, like, if you go off the edge, they're, like, miles and miles above the ground, which is pretty... Like, I don't have, like, a huge fear of heights, but it does make me uncomfortable thinking about that.
Yeah.
Because none of them had handrails. Did you mention how none of them had handrails?
Yeah,
That's
no
just
handrails at all.
Queasy thinking about it.
Say, you'd imagine, like, a bunch of escorts, like, fall to their death, at least. Especially with random ones that'll just, like, tackle you for being weird, right?
That's true, actually. Do you remember the, like, scene from, I guess it would be the end of The Force Awakens, when she's on that island?
Yeah.
Whoa, spoilers.
Have you not seen that yet? God damn it, Tessa. Anyway, she's climbing up the, like, side of that mountain with no rails or anything. I would have fucking just given up right there.
Yep, be like, well, if he's up there, I guess it's over.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
like, shit, I didn't know it was going to be so dangerous. Fuck this.
Dang. I guess I get the escort are dead. Damn it.
Yeah,
The
I guess
Jedi
we
is
lose.
just over.
I guess we lose. Anyway, so they're walking down the staircase, and when Eric the Chi, like, freaks out and says, that's a howler, and I guess Marco, like, doesn't believe him at first, which I don't get. Why? Why don't you just be like, oh, okay. Let's
Because
do
it
this.
just looked like a dude. It was alone.
Right,
They
yeah.
were
Well, I mean,
expecting, like,
okay, it looked like a dude, but it was a dude made of lava who had, like, Wolverine cosplay on with the claws flipped up and a swivel stomach.
blue eyes.
And the
eyes.
bluest eyes.
But they're, like, all eye. There's no, like, iris. It's just a blue...
Well, the iris is like a very,
Lighter.
very almost imperceptibly lighter shade of blue. Which, you know what? Actually, I'm reminded of the brilliant blue of of Elthanger's ship from book 1 that Jake described. Maybe Jake's favorite color is blue, you guys.
Maybe he's colorblind. Everything looks blue.
Everything looks blue. Dubba dee dubba die.
So they see the howler, and Eric's like, his face, like, goes white, even though it's like a hologram. I assume he just does it automatically based on his emotions, like, without even thinking about it. And so they get ready to fight. You know, Axe is, like, in the front while everyone else morphs, and they don't even, like, come up with a plan, or they just, let's just go on. It's 6 versus 1. These are the best odds we're gonna get. We got this. And they just get slaughtered. They just get, like, their asses handed to them because they can't deal with the howl as for what they're named for. Everything seems to just be named for what you do in this book.
Yeah, like Andalites have lots of things, but they also have lights. Dork-Bajir, Hork the Bajirs, which is what they call trees on their planet. Taxons have little tiny feet that say Taxon, Taxon, Taxon as they crawl around.
They're actually excellent accountants.
Also that, sorry, thanks, Mikhail, I almost forgot. And then, like, Yerks just yerk you in the ear. And then Escort, Ort.
Any goddamn ways. Let's get this over with.
Yeah.
Alright, so they're fighting this howler. Every time he howls, he's, like, tearing them apart. Their brains, like, explode. They don't know what's going on. Axe, like, runs away with, like, his ears bleeding. And this whole while, which Jake has been completely oblivious to, like, Eric has just been spitting out information, like, all the, like, intel that he has, and he's trying to give people directions, like, to keep them from getting murdered. And this is the first book that I ever read, so I didn't realize how graphic these fights were.
Yeah.
Or how graphic fights like these, right? Because I'd never really read books like this before. Like, I had been reading, like, Hardy Boys up until now.
Totally. Also, like, me hearing this for the first time in, like, quite a while, Holy shit, this is a confusing one to jump in.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, a lot. It's just like, it just assumes, like, even with Jake's, like, chapter of, hello, my name is Jake, I cannot tell you my last name. Like, there's still so much context that you're missing if you're just jumping into this from the start.
I just kind of was rolling with it. I remember like being like, what the fuck is going on? Who is this? What is happening? But I was like, you know what? I'm just going to roll with it. It's fine.
Yeah. I read Harry Potter starting in book 4. I don't give a damn.
That's because you're a monster. You don't get his innocent like upbringing.
I don't care.
Okay.
I mean, so by what we know is, because Braden read Animorphs in chronological order, Animorphs is now superior to Harry Potter. That's a fact.
Ooh, I don't know. There's like Harry Potter lobbies. They'll
Talk
get you
about
killed
hot
for saying
takes
shit
that
like
might bring the entire internet down upon you.
Ooh, I mean, yeah, okay. Like, we have enough people paying attention to us to make that be like any kind of thing.
I'll call the police. So
Yeah, you will.
Yeah, like this fight was like super graphic. Like Jake gets his like paw shot off completely, like melted off.
Jesus.
And
Yep. And then he's stabbed, and he's stabbed in the neck.
And he like talks about how he can feel like his blood flowing out, and like, oh man, it was awesome. And
It's so graphic.
Like a Coke can sized hole shot through him.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh,
with a flechette gun.
yes, dude.
Oh, they use so many flechettes.
Flechette. It's a type of
They're like tiny thin metal darts, but you shoot them.
Yeah, flechette in real life is a deliberately
Can you spell it?
FLEC.
No, FLACHETT.
Oh, so it's French, like flechette.
Yeah.
It looks
I
like
thought it was
flechette.
Flechette sounds very wrong.
Flechette, but flechette sounds like machete, but in a gun, which is true, because it's basically a flechette is a bunch of little tiny machetes.
Rather than being like pellets, like perfectly made pellets, like in a shotgun, it's shrapnel. It was one single piece, but it was deliberately broken into shards.
Okay, I get it.
Yeah,
Makes
basically.
sense.
And where do they keep this? Isn't there just like just a gun that they have?
Yeah, they have like a bandolier with a bunch of different guns on it, like beam guns, like a Draken beam, the flechette gun. Those are the only
knives
ones that I ever remember. Yeah, knives. I don't know if they have any other like guns that they describe, because they just use the flechette one all the time.
Knives, flechette, Dracon beams is what they describe, but they say there's a lot more on there, which I will take to mean dildos.
These kids get away with so much in terms of like avoiding death by gunshot. Like throughout this whole series, it's like he hits him in the shoulder. It's like at one point you must have been hit in the head, right?
Right.
Like just law of averages. Never happens. Always like the fattiest, thickest part of the body is where they get hit.
With enough time to demorph before they just pass out from blood loss and then die.
Or just power through it with the, I guess, power of adrenaline. I don't know. Like,
I thought about that when I was rereading this, that like there's so many times where they take so much like damage that should kill that animal, but then they all manage to demorph.
yeah, when I was a kid, I thought a rhino was like a military grade tank from the descriptions in Animorphs.
Right.
Jake's like, I got shot in the face and it felt like a mosquito. It's like, I don't know. I don't think that's true for a real rhino. But anyway.
I mean, Mikhail, have you turned into a rhino?
I've shot a lot of them. I mean,
Oh.
too far.
I hugged a lot of rhinos.
Like in a sexual way?
No, sometimes you can just hug something without it being sexual,
Yeah.
Mikhail.
I mean, I've never hugged anything I didn't want to bang, but that's a different thing entirely.
I think we're making you guys uncomfortable.
I mean, we're making me uncomfortable.
I know I was using myself for a stand-in.
It was guessed by proxy, you could say.
Some would... Let's jump back into that. Okay, I feel like we must be close to the end of this book.
Nope, not really.
We're about the halfway point now.
Through. So, all right. So they get torn apart by this howler. They manage to all escape thanks to Eric's like directions. He can't really help them fight, but he can help them like get away, not die. So they regroup, and they're trying to figure out if that was just one howler, how are they going to win against 7 howlers? And they have no idea. And they're in this like little, I assume it was like a hotel room with maybe a bathroom. I don't know. They're like shaking and
Yeah, they're like unsure if it's a bathroom.
Axe is like standing in the corner like ashamed because he ran away, even though he did come back and try and fight, but he's all like standing in the corner, like not looking at anybody. And then they like smell gas like pouring into the room, like bug gas. Oh no, that's later. So
That's later.
They see the Horlers like, or the
This time it's just they slam against the door, yeah.
Room, and Eric like blocks the doorway, like he like grips like some metal whatever things on the wall, like grips some metal parts of the wall, like it's like made out of butter or whatever, and he's like trying to block them from getting in. And while they all morph flies and run away, Axe is a little bit behind because he's all being all Andalite pride that he doesn't want to run away again.
Yeah.
But eventually like he starts to morph, and this is the first time the Howlers recognize Eric as a Chi, because before he's projecting a hologram. I think this time he wasn't, and they're like taunting him a little bit while they start to like use their Draken beams to like burn out where he was like his hand holds on the door.
So sorry, I think I missed the part. Like, how do they talk? They just talk with mouths?
They can talk in human, yeah. They talk in mouth and speak English.
They speak English, or the Elements like modified the Animorphs to be able to understand?
They know English, and Jake, like, there's a sentence where Jake is like, yo, he's speaking English, what the fuck?
Yeah, and he's like, I guess Crayak must have programmed them with English, because, oh yeah, I forgot to mention, the Howlers are a design species. They're not, like, they were not grown, they did not evolve either. They were like, yeah, exactly. They're like,
wait, is that allowed
engineered.
in the game between the Elemist and the Crayak? It's like
Apparently.
It's like, oh, we have to choose 7 heroes. Fuck it, I'll just like design exactly the thing I need for this project.
Well, they had been designed before. They were just like,
They've been designed before, yeah.
Okay,
they've been around for a while, but they didn't like evolve naturally.
Right. That makes more sense.
Yeah. So Jake is like, oh, Crayak probably programmed them to know English, so that way, if they needed to like interrogate us, or if they wanted to like get in our heads, that's what he assumes. But they speak perfect English, I guess. Anyway, so they managed to escape as fly.
One of the Howlers just goes, fight me, Chi, trying to taunt Eric, and Eric's just like, no, I'm the door now.
Yeah, I'm the door now. Yeah,
that was pretty dope.
Yeah, they escape as flies. They follow Guide around because they're not really sure what all to do. So they're just like in fly morph, like with like following around Guide, and they know the other Howlers are probably tailing Guide too. So they like reach out to Eric via thought speech to try and get him to like hide Guide.
Ha.
It rhymed.
So
Tessa's easy
so they
to
notice
please.
like Eric like comes up next to him and then like projects a hologram, and they become like one of the War Maker Guild guys, so that people don't like mess with them.
Yeah.
Like give them a wide berth whenever they walk around. And so they're still like not able to regroup, not able to like figure out any idea what they're supposed to do, and they're talking about like what makes these like what's up with these Howlers. Like Eric tells them a little bit, but all he really basically tells them is that they've been around for a long time. All they do is kill. They just go from planet to planet and wipe out all the species there, and then they just go on to the next planet and wipe. It's like a worse version of Thanos because they kill everybody.
And for no philosophical reason,
right.
It seems
They're like, we don't understand why. Like, there's no way. They're just pure evil. They're just going to kill these planets because that's what Crayak tells them to do, and then they just do it.
If you cannot defeat them, you don't deserve to live.
Basically, yeah. That's kind of Crayak's whole deal, right? Like, he wants the strong species to absorb and destroy the weak ones until there's only one left that he controls.
Oh, so he's like a eugenist, kind of?
Yeah, basically.
So he's literally Hitler, basically.
Yeah, basically. Yeah, they talk about... They mention Nazis here... right around the same time they're talking about like why they do that, and they're like, so they're basically Nazis. And Jake,
oh, really?
yeah, exactly. And Cassie's like, well, it doesn't make sense because not even all Nazis were all evil, right? There's definitely a lot of evil ones, but there was also Nazis that were like secretly a resistance, you know? So they can't all
confirmed
be evil.
Cassie was a Nazi sympathizer.
Right away.
That's not the conversation.
Not all Nazis were that bad.
No, that's not the conversation. They're talking about how she brings up, it's like, well, that's what the Nazis believed, was that one race could just be evil, but like, that's not true. Like, there's so many different people
so
there.
much
And then she
variation
brings up the
within.
Yerks. She's not a Nazi sympathizer. She's a Yerk sympathizer.
Yeah,
Yeah.
she does bring up the Yerks too. How like we know like not you can't have a species that's all the same.
But I guess because they're they're created.
You think
can.
that maybe you could?
Yeah.
And this is when we also find out that all the Howlers have the exact same memory and they share memory.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
that's right.
And Eric
We don't find out
downloads
the
like some
full
Howler memories
ramifications.
and finds out that they never have lost.
Yeah,
They have
like,
wiped out 19 species and have never lost a battle.
Dark.
Yeah. So yeah.
And Cassie's like, that doesn't make sense.
Right before they download those memories, Eric does like a cool thing that I noticed on my last reread here today. That guide is like, if you want to buy these memories, you can interface. If your Android can interface in with the thing, and he like sticks his finger out, and like his finger like probes the keyhole, and then his finger like changes to fit it.
I always pictured it as like a USB port stick pokes out of his finger.
No, like it
Or, like,
literally says his finger changes to fit
Changes.
the thing. Like it like
But
reforms.
if they can do force fields and stuff, that makes sense, right?
Right, yeah.
Yeah.
I just thought that was really cool.
That is very cool. It's like BB-8 doing that wild shit. It's basically that R2-D2's like magic wand finger that can do everything.
Right, yeah. Anyway, so like they view one of the memories from the Howler's perspective, and they describe this weird alien species that looks like Gumby, but blue.
Okay.
Howler's
They're
like,
Graffin's children.
right, Graffin's children, and they're like really innocent. Like I remember like specifically when the little Gumby creature sees the Howler, it gets happy, like, oh look, a new person, I get to go meet a new person, and it walks over like to shake its hand, and then the Howler like screams and it explodes. It literally like bursts apart. It was
Like because
crazy.
it was scared, or
No,
what?
like because of the way his howl. Like I guess that's how his howl affected them.
Oh.
The Howler's howl. Yeah. I
Easy
don't like
kill.
the word howl. It sounds weird. It doesn't sound right when I say it.
More like a shriek or a scream.
Yeah.
It's like,
yeah.
Kira. That's exactly what it sounds like.
Super high pitched, but like
You're right. Howl is more like a wolf thing.
I always pictured like almost like a falcon cry, like how Tobias does his seer, but like
falcons do that.
gratingly high pitched and like debilitating.
I assume I have no idea how that's supposed to work. As far as the science of it's supposed to working, but like I don't know, whatever.
It's the ultimate brown.
Yeah, for sure.
So that's how they get their name. Like they just
that's-
scream
yeah.
and see what happens.
Yeah, that's how they get their name because it's like they're like perfectly designed weapon to attack like sentient species. So they view this memory of them like just murdering this entire species, and they're just like really efficient, and they don't know. They're just like
What were they called? Like Garfield's children?
Graffin's children,
Graff-
but close. The
I
Gumby
prefer
guys.
Garfield.
yeah. So like
Yeah.
they watch them murder all the Gumbies, and they're
I hate Mondays.
They were just trying to bring the Howlers some lasagna, and the Howlers just slaughtered them until these 13-year-old children scream at the android to stop showing them the murder.
Fair enough.
right. Yeah. It's pretty.
Just yowzers! Cut that
pretty
out.
graphic. Like, okay, that's enough. I think we get the picture. And then I think that's right around the same time they get attacked again, but they smell
That's when the
poison.
bug gas comes
So
in.
they
Yep.
smell the bug gas coming through their new hotel room, and they're like, they kind of freak out. They're like, oh shit, what now? And Jake asks if there's windows. So like, maybe if we can bust through a window, we can get out. And it occurs to him, which I thought was great, that he was able to at least like realize they probably, if there's windows, they probably are anticipating that you're gonna bust out through the window.
Yep.
And
He's turning into a good general boy.
he's starting to learn. He's getting there. So he has Guide open a window, and Eric project a hologram of them flying out through one window, and then have Guide open a second window where they all actually fly out, which I thought was a nice little misdirect for them. Apparently, this is when they meet like the Servant Guild, who are all like fawning over them, and like to the point where they're really annoyed by it. And
It's super uncomfortable. Especially in light of the fact that we just learned that all of them are like all the Istwort
We don't know about this
actually-
yet. We don't know about this
we
yet. No, this is right after, because this is when they turn to
I'm
birds.
gonna learn right after.
We learned about it right after the bird bid.
Okay.
And I just remember, like, because the servants were like asking him if they need anything as they changed into birds and were trying to escape from the building through the window. They're like, are the people clinging to the outside of the building bothering you? Are they like, do you want to do anything? Do you need anything? Maybe like a hot shower?
It just reminded me of like Amy Poehler in Mean Girls. A condom, some cupcakes, let me know.
Yeah. Anyway, so they escape through the window there after they use Eric to misdirect the Howlers. They meet back up, and Guide's like, well,
first, the Howlers, like, shoot down everybody, and Jake is like, all right, let's see how fast this bird can go. And he dive bombs a Howler and, like, makes it chase after him and makes him Coyote-style run off a balcony because they don't have guardrails.
Yeah.
Coyote-style.
Yeah, like, not just any coyote, though.
Wily Coyote.
Wily Coyote.
Wily Coyote. One.
Tesla just hates coyotes. It's weird.
But yeah, so Jake like acquires the Howler. So the Howler, he, as they're falling in the air, he morphs human, acquires the Howler, and as the Howler is like in a trance, it's staring hatefully at Jake as he's ripping off. While acquiring, he's like taking all of the weapons off of this guy's bandolier, and then just lets him go splat.
And like, I don't know how long it would take to fall. Like how long it would take to morph, acquire, de-arm or disarm, and then remorph to bird, and how long they were falling for. Because the way that the sequence plays out in the book, it seems like it's a really fucking long time, like 10 minutes.
Yeah, they're really high up, and then we figure out what the ground of the planet is, and it's like kind of swampy and gross.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, it smells like sulfur.
It's nasty stuff.
This is the same planet, the Lego planet.
Yes, yeah. So that's why I think that's why they build up so much. That's why. Like, their towers are so tall and huge. And he even describes them like they would dwarf, like, the pyramids and the Sears Tower. And I think there's the Twin Towers mentioned in there. That they would look like Tinker Toys next to these towers that they built.
Yep.
Oh, I see. I was like, wait, a 9/11 reference? But then...
No.
K.A. Applegate. No, I'm not going to say it.
Inside job.
Too far.
Okay, so then he's like flying back up, like hoping everyone's not dead because he saw like Cassie got her like wing shot off. He saw he saw Marco like just fall to the ground. And while during that chase scene before they fall off, he realizes that the Howlers can't kill any of the escort, so they're using them as like cover.
Wait, why can't they?
He keeps saying rules of engagement. Apparently, there's rules that they can't kill any escort until they kill the Animorphs, right? Until they win their little contest of champions, then they can kill the escorts. So right now they can't.
Yeah.
That makes sense. I mean, it doesn't make sense, but makes sense in the rules of the book.
Yeah.
Well, if they didn't specify that, like, you can't kill any escort while trying to kill the Animorphs, they would just blow up the entire planet or something like that, and like, oh, the Animorphs weren't there yet? Well, I mean, we didn't have rule. Okay, we surrender. The escorts are dead anyway.
Oh, I get how it makes sense, like, as a narrative rule. It's just one of those things where it's like the last book, where it's like, not the last book, the Helmicron book, where it was like, oh, so this makes no sense at all and completely breaks the fiction and the logic of the text. Okay, got it. Nice.
That rule's helpful because if not, you have to tone down the Howlers to be more manageable, right? Or else they just lose.
Yeah,
automatically,
totally.
Right?
I agree. And it ups the tension, too, because it's like, protect the escort now becomes a whole different kind of thing.
Use the escort as human shields since they can't kill them.
So yeah, human shields?
I mean,
accordion shields.
Accordion shields. There we go.
Yeah, okay, so he finally meets back up with them. Tobias sees him flying around, and he's pretty sure there's no other Peregrine Falcons on this planet, and everyone's still alive, everyone made it, and they're demorphed.
Yay!
And Jake runs in, and Cassie sees him.
The one of those interesting moments, which I didn't appreciate till later, is that whenever Jake comes back in, is that him and Cassie like slow motion run to each other, and she like leaps into his arms, and they kiss for the first time.
They kiss for the first time!
Oh the fuck, now I gotta go.
Mikhail, they kiss for the first time, and you didn't read this book! It's so good!
Nice. I was very charmed. It's like, I've had a lot of complaints about, like, about Cassie Jake, because I just didn't think it was a thing, but and now it's actually out in the open.
And Rachel has that little quip. She's like, about damn time.
Yeah, Rachel's just like, finally. And then Marco's like, where's my kiss? And like Cassie and Jake are so embarrassed. But they're holding hands. It's so cute.
Cake, 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 cake.
Cake, cake, cake. Let them eat cake.
The trap remix of that sentence, I guess.
Yes.
Okay, we must be near the end now.
Yeah, we're getting pretty close there. Jake's starting to get an idea of he's starting to get kind of an idea of what, like, the Howlers can't win all the time, right? He's starting to get an idea of a plan. Like the beginnings of one. And right around that time, Guide's like, well, I'm going to set you guys up with room, but then I got to bounce because I have to feed. And this is where you learn that the escort are a symbiotic, however you say that, relationship.
Symbiotic.
So there's like two parts of them, the outer body, the isk, and then the yort is the smaller inner body that gets out every 3 days and feeds off chondrono rays. Kind of like something that we know.
Hold the fuck up. I mean, hold the phone. I mean, hold the heck up. Guys, I'm swearing so much, and I'm at my parents' place, and they can definitely hear it.
Oh, no supper for you then.
Oh.
Let's just finish this, please.
Okay, we're almost to the end. Here we go. So they get into an argument. Then they realize that the Yort used to be parasites. They might be distantly related to the Yerks. They were the same way. They used to conquer planets and infest people unwillingly. But then they realized that long term that doesn't really work. So they designed the ISK. They engineered someone that they could they could have and coexist with peacefully. And they also modified their own genetic code. I don't know what to call it. So where that they can't survive without each other. They have to be truly symbiotic, two parts of one being. And they realize, oh shit, we kind of get why these guys are important now. It's kind of like one of the only answers to the Yerk's life, even the Yerks that don't want to infest people. You can't just live as a slug the whole time. That's awful.
And that's why Crayak and Elemist are fighting over the Iskort of all things. That's the whole point.
And so Jake's starting to come up with a plan. He realized they talk about how they have a shared memory. The Howlers have a shared memory, but they never lose. And it's that's not right. It doesn't matter how good you are, eventually you're going to lose. Michael Jordan lost. Other people lose that are really good at stuff. I can't think of anything off the top of my head.
Nice. I like how dry that well was. Michael Jordan lost. That's it, right?
I mean, he's basically the best, so I get it.
Michael Jordan lost, and then he did some gambling.
And then he was in Space Jam.
Yeah.
And
then he came back.
Did he go back into basketball after that?
Yeah, he joined the Wizards. Or actually, he came out of retirement. That was the first time he came out of retirement. He went back to the Bulls.
And then he played basketball with a dog.
Wait, what?
Yeah, it's a documentary. No, it's a documentary. Air Bud.
Basketball Jones. I got a basketball Jones. I got a basketball Jones, oh baby. Ooh.
Okay, Brayden. Thank you for that.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
So they head back to
so
Earth.
they come up with a plan. They get they're gonna use Jake. Jake's gonna morph Howler, and they need someone to run around and get the Howler's attention and bring them kind of over here. So Axe, of course, volunteers, and there's this little nice moment where Rachel's her hand's already halfway up, and Jake gives her a look and silently tells her no. This is to help Axe regain his Andalite pride or whatever. He gets to be the bait that runs around and tries to die.
Andalite honor is really weird.
It was probably the better choice anyway, because Axe is way more faster and agile than everyone else, combined. So
yeah,
it makes the most sense.
Regardless.
It makes the most sense.
So they have they chase around Axe, while Jake morphs to Howler, and then he gets to a little bit of insight into them that they're not actually, the Howlers don't ever grow to maturity. They're grown in a factory. They live for 3 years, and they're just kids playing games. And that's why they murder everyone.
Yeah.
That's all a game. It's all fun and games for them.
It's fun and games for them. I mean, they're just like human 3-year-olds.
Basically 12-year-olds on Call of Duty in Xbox Live.
It's true.
Sad.
Murdering everyone and talking a bunch of shit, and they don't really know what's wrong with that. So Jake morphs Howler, and then they use or they catch one, I guess, or like Jake distracts them and comes over, and he's like, "Follow me, they're here, yeah," and he like knocks one out, or just like gives them a couple quick like jabs, boom, boom, boom. Their Howler eyes are really like specified to like identify weak points. I assume like where organs are, things like that. Like maybe where some more sensitive nerve endings would be, like nerve end groupings would be. I assume if you attack those, that'd be pretty effective. So anyway, he gives them a couple quick blows, and they put the like memory implanter in him, or memory viewer thing.
So the Howler gets to look at all of Jake's memories.
Yep.
All of Marco's and Rachel's, and even Eric's.
All of them.
Everybody's memories. And just as Jake planned, they pop out of existence. Because Crayak, before anyone can learn about defeat, before any of his creatures can learn about defeat, or can learn about how other people that they're murdering are actually people with like lives and dreams and like love and all that stuff, he like murders them, just makes them disappears them before like their memories can infect the race as a whole.
Wait, so that means that they do want to feel empathy, they're just not allowed to.
They're not allowed, and they're like sometimes the Howlers do lose, but Crayak kills them before those memories can infest all of the memories.
Jake's assumption from the fact like these guys have a shared memory, but they never lose. There's no way. They must lose, which means Crayak just kills the ones that lose before their memory gets spread to everyone else.
But what are the badasses that they've lost to?
That's interesting. Yeah, I would love to see that. It's probably the Mortrons.
Oh, fuck yeah. It's definitely
Definitely.
Yeah.
Mortron Truth.
Are we ever going to get to meet someone who survived the Howlers?
Well, Crayak, then we meet the Andalite, or the Animorphs, Braden. What more do you want?
Oh, of course. Duh.
But then Crayak zooms them all in front of his throne, and they see them.
It's less his throne, more his, like, pocket dimension.
His throne
Yeah,
body.
it's kind of like his pocket dimension, and like, it's just interesting, like Jake describes it as just like this overwhelming feeling of dread that Crayak just like emanates. Yeah, anyway, and then the Elemis pops in, he's like laughing, he's like, "You just got fucked up, bitch. My Animorphs got you. Let's go. Our agreement stands, right? The escort get to live." And Crayak's like, yeah, I guess. And then he's like, as he like is transporting the Animorphs back home, he's like, "Good job." And Marco's like, "Good job. That's it? We just fucked those dudes up, man." And almost died like 30 different times.
Before all this happens, Jake, in front of Crayak, morphs Howler, looks through the memories, and finds nothing except for the memory of the cake kiss. Mm-hmm. The most important memory.
Wait, sorry. So the Howlers only remember the only thing they remember about the Animorphs now is that Jake kissed Cassie?
Yep.
Yeah.
That's the only thing that went through. Because that's the one memory that went through when the Howlers got blasted before Crayak killed them all.
Just because like there was so much blood rushing to his crotch, or what?
I guess so.
Must have been. It might just because that was like the most significant, closest event that they like to Jake.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
Significant events that's probably happened to him besides becoming an Animorph, right? But it's also the most recent, so I kind of assume that's why it went through first before they could get popped. So yeah, that's pretty much the end. Yeah, the kiss goes through. Elemis tells them maybe someday in 300-something years, the Yeerks will meet the escort and realize there's a way better way to live. And the next time the Howlers go and try and fight someone, they're going to actually try and kiss them instead. So like Crayak's like special shock troops are gone, and
well, no, the end is that the very end of the book is that Jake thinks about how Marco always says that you can try and think of the world as a funny place or as, you know, like a really depressing place. And so Jake tries to fall asleep thinking about Cassie. And every time he looks into her eyes, he thinks of that 3-year-old Howler that he pushed to his death. Huh. It's a nice cheery note to end the book on, Jake.
Next week, in our bi-weekly episode of Live from the Gardens, we'll be talking about the tiger and I think the peregrine falcon. I'm guessing I'm guessing that my eyes will probably not be better by then, judging on the quality of them currently. So it's very likely that Tessa will be hosting that.
Hey, it's gonna be fun.
Hopefully, by the week after, when we talk about book 27, The Exposed, I will be relatively well healed, and I'll have read it, and we'll go back to normal me on top, carrying the weight of you two. Andrew, did you want to give a shout out to anyone?
I'm pretty sure Lenny's going to listen to this, and if you're listening to this, Lenny, you should be working harder as my union rep, because I need more days off, please. Thank you.
Wow.
Come on, Lenny.
Call out post for Lenny.
Yeah.
Give this guy a break. Not Lenny, I mean you.
You can find more of our stuff on our podcast page at collectivelegacy.org or on Twitter, Tumblr, Instagram, or Facebook.
Braden, where can people subscribe to our show?
Well, they can go ahead and find us on iTunes, Spotify, or wherever fine podcasts are distributed, as well as our parent site, collectivelegacy.org.
You guys can also show your support for our show at our Patreon page, patreon.com/Dork-Bajir, where you can basically pledge to give a certain amount of money every month, and you get a bunch of goodies in exchange.
We offer special bonuses for patrons, like access to our Discord server, Animorphs essays written by us, and much more.
Good. One of those much more is that we do a little shout out to some of our patrons, and we give each of the patrons an Animorphs title.
We would like to give a big thank you to Steam Driven the Spooned.
Big shout out to Greg Della Posta, the Conqueror.
This is a shout out to Spencer, the Meshed.
A big, big, big Patreon thank you to Anyanka, the One Night.
All right. Big thank you to Shanna, the Traveled.
And a very special thank you to our very special guest, Andrew, the Sickness. Because he's down with it.
That is a book title.
Do you get it? He's down with it.
Down with the sickness.
So our last piece of business here is Braden needs to give us his predictions for book 27, The Exposed, or The Exposed.
Of course.
Predictions!
Predictions! Our tagline for book 27 is, they thought they'd seen it all. They were wrong. It's called The Exposed. It's got Rachel underwater in a very 90s one-piece swimming suit, morphing into a squid. God, it's horrible. It's very painted. Oh, Lord. I can't stop looking.
I really
Is she
like this one.
glowing? Is it? I think she might be glowing, or maybe that's...
I think it's
Is
just
she
the book.
glowing in the context of the story, or is this
No.
just the cover?
She's not glowing in the book.
Okay. Guys, I can't stop looking at that middle morph. I'm not gonna...
I know, it's so bad. Her eyeball gets so large.
I think Rachel is long due for a solo book. We've had a bit of a Marco solo adventure. Cassie, I believe Axe has had a couple of one-man runs that turned out he was actually getting stalked by the team. But I think Rachel's going to get separated from the crew, and she's going to feel exposed and going to need to figure out how to survive on her own without backup.
Yeah, that's a good prediction. My prediction is that I'm going to thoroughly enjoy this one because I remember it very clearly from my childhood.
Yeah.
And I remember it taught me a fuck ton about, like, underwater shit. Well, we'll get to it, but it's like...
Yeah.
It's very exciting.
Especially since it's the first Rachel book since the David trilogy, which is so great.
So good. For the Animorphs, my name is Mikhail, the host.
I'm Tessa, the expert.
And I'm Braden, the scum.
Okay.
It's true.
And I'm Andrew, the guest.
And this has been Animorphs, the Dork-Bajir Chronicles.
what do you want to eat right now? Jinx.
I'm Mitch.
And I'm Sophie. And this is
We Watch Food,
a podcast all about the food we like to watch.
We'll talk all about the best, the craziest, and the tastiest TV, movies, and YouTube channels.
Not to mention trendy food fads and sumptuous food trivia.
Plus, we end every episode with a recipe from one of us.
So join us every Saturday for a new episode and a new insight into what makes us watch so much food.
You can find us at collectivelegacy.org, as well as a bunch of other awesome podcasts.
Follow us on Facebook and Instagram at We Watch Food.
And on Twitter at We Watch Food Pod. So I've been Mitch.
I'm Sophie.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Brought to you by
Collective Legacy,
a podcast network.